And from that, we're going to go straight onto the business news for you in the programme. We've got a new report, in fact, by the US National Transportation Safety Board. It shares new insights as to what may have happened when that Alaskan Airlines Boeing 737 saw one of its doors blow off shortly after takeoff. And Charles Pellegrin, our business editor, is with us here on set to tell us more about it. Charles.
Morning, Stuart. As a reminder, this incident happened in January after that plane took off from Portland International Airport. Thankfully, the incident only caused minor injuries to 3 passengers, but the pictures of that gaping hole in the plane's fuselage were seen around the world. And this was bad news for the U.S. airline manufacturer, who'd been struggling to build up again the reputation of its 737 aircraft after 2 fatal crashes in 2018 and 2019, which killed 346 people. Accidents that were attributed to flawed flight control software. The initial findings of the new report on the door incident state that 4 key bolts that secured the door to the fuselage appeared to have been missing. This particular door was first built by contractor Spirit AeroSystems, but then later replaced at Boeing's Washington plant. Boeing's CEO's response to the findings was to say, quote, "An event like this must not happen on an airplane that leaves our factory. We simply must do better for our customers and their passengers." This incident has raised questions about the role played by the U.S.'s aviation industry regulator, the Federal Aviation Administration, which had previously been accused of being too cozy with Boeing. After the fatal crashes of 2018 and 2019, Boeing was no longer allowed to self-certify its aircraft as being safe, and the FAA vowed to step up scrutiny. But as evidenced by the January incident, this may not have been enough. The Boeing plant in Renton, Washington, which manufactures the 737 plane, employs 12,000 people. And according to Steve Dixon, a former FAA chief speaking to the Wall Street Journal, there were 8 government inspectors on site late last year. That's up from 2 in 2018. He was quoted by the U.S. newspaper as saying oversight was akin to looking through a keyhole. The FAA's new administrator, Mike Whitaker, told lawmakers on Tuesday that 20 inspectors conducted a 6-week audit at the Renton plant in the wake of the incident, and 6 more at Spirit AeroSystems plant in Kansas. Some of these will stay after the audit for continual surveillance. Going forward, we will have more boots on the ground closely scrutinizing and monitoring production and manufacturing activities, is what Whitaker told U.S. lawmakers on Tuesday. Moving on to Argentina now, where President Javier Milei's plans to overhaul and liberalize the South American economy have been dealt a setback. Parliament on Tuesday sent the reform package back to committee for a rewrite. Nevertheless, the government insists that cuts to government spending will still have to be made. Brian Quinn has the story.
A U-turn for the omnibus. Argentine legislators on Tuesday blocked the advance of President Javier Milei's sweeping economic reform package, sending it back to committee for a rewrite. Outside Parliament, protesters and opposition leaders celebrated the setback for the controversial bill.
We are very happy. It's obvious that with this massive popular pressure, the bill could not have passed. It is a bill that attacks the rights of all the Argentine people, as well as the land, the water, and all the common goods that we have in this country.
The omnibus bill initially contained more than 600 articles. Negotiations in Congress had whittled that down to around 300. They include the privatization of state-owned companies, the delegation of some legislative powers to the president, removing government controls on the economy, and raising rates for public services and utilities. Milei was elected last year in a resounding upset amid the latest in a long series of economic crises for Argentina. A self-described libertarian anarcho-capitalist, he wants to radically cut spending and bring down budget deficits he says are driving inflation that has now topped 200%. Already, Milei has devalued the peso by more than half, cut subsidies for fuel and transportation, eliminated ministries, and ditched hundreds of economic regulations, as well as slashing thousands of government jobs. Those moves met with approval by the International Monetary Fund, which recently approved the release of $4.7 billion in loans. But they've also sparked massive protests as Argentines face steep cuts to the subsidies and services on which many depend.
And here in France, French energy giant Total Energy posted the biggest profits of its history in 2023 thanks to a strong showing by its liquefied natural gas and electricity divisions, while oil prices fell back from their peaks hit in 2022. Net profit came in at $21.4 billion, 4% higher than in 2022, but those figures were skewed by the fact that its bottom line was weighed down by the cost of its withdrawal from Russia following Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. So a different measure, adjusted net income for 2023, shows actually a 36% drop of benefits to $23.2 billion. And let's end by having a look at what's happening on the stock markets this hour. We're seeing the major European bourses open the session in the green, including the Paris CAC 40 just above the flat line here. But Total Energy, listed on the CAC 40, saw its shares drop 3% at the open after posting those results. Stuart.